Have you ever been irrationally angry at something small? Mine was cold weather, and here's why. Hey friends, I'm Michelle here with Choosing to Shine Echoes. I'm so happy that you joined me here today. Um, Echoes is going to be a memoir-style podcast where I'm going to share my own personal stories with you, the viewer, to remind each other that we're not alone, right? As humans, we are supposed to share our stories. So I hope that someone sees a reflection in my stories and can relate to that. And hopefully I can give you guys some type of takeaway at the end that is helpful to you. That is my goal here. So I like to start each week with lighting a candle, and I want to set an intention of connection and healing. These were supposed to be like 30-minute candles that I bought, but they ended up being more like an hour. So I kind of cut them in half. So that's why it's so stubby. So I am going to use my reflection cards that I use to play the game with others on the Reflections podcast. So each week I'm going to pull a card, and as I answer with my own personal stories, I invite you to reflect, just noticing what comes up without judgment and with gentle acceptance. So grab a drink, grab a journal, settle in for some self-care or some me time. And yeah, let's see what I get. So if you haven't watched the Reflections podcast, I did hand make these cards. They are made, they're all watercolor. These are the original ones. They're absolutely beautiful. I don't think it shows up on the screen very well, but they are all individually hand painted. That's why they're all different. And yeah, I use them for journaling and to ask other people questions. So I'm just going to pull from the bottom here. And since I'm playing with myself, I'm not going to be using my game changer hearts, which are these little hearts here. I'll just decide, obviously, what I want to answer here, if I can come up with a story. So let's see. Let's see which side I want to answer. And also, I just want to give you guys a heads up. Like, there's a lot going on in my life that I'm not going to be able to talk about right now. So if you see me pausing for a long time, it's because I'm trying to decide what I can share right now and what I can't share. So, there's just a lot going on. So, and I know I'm kind of being, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not meaning to be like mysterious or whatever, but I do have something going on with the police, potentially the FBI. There's a lot, and there's a lot of people in my life that were in my life, that are still in my life, that I can't speak about right now. So thank you for understanding that in advance. So I'm just going to give a little heads up. And how do you guys like the new couch? We got a new couch for the podcast because Chloe, you want to say hi? because Chloe was always crying under the table that she can get up. Well, she's right here. I don't know. I don't know. You can see it. No, I think she's too low. She's got her little stairs over there so she can come and go as she pleases. All right. So the question here is, what's an event that completely changed how you see your life? I have so many. I don't know. You guys can see that either. See that? All right. So, an event that completely changed how I see my life. I mean, I have a lot of stories, I feel like, that kind of did that, but I think the one that I've been journaling on and thinking about the most this week is yeah, again, I'm trying not to say too many things here. I'm sorry. I'm not going to delete out the quiet parts. That is part of this process. I am getting asked these questions. There's like 102 options. So I as well don't know what I'm going to be answering. And I did it that way. So my stories aren't rehearsed and they're authentic, and they're, feelings may come up that I wasn't prepared for, and that's all part of it. So, it's been really cold here in Florida, you guys. I was born and raised in Florida. I am not built for this cold weather. I actually, the first week that it dropped down to freezing, I was like beside myself. I just kept saying it's irrational how I feel about the cold. And I was like, there has to be something else there. Like, I was angry. I was mad. I didn't want to go to work because I was just like cold to my bones, right? And it wasn't really that cold. I mean, and I was inside, it was like 65. That's not really that cold, right? By the number. So I had to really reflect on that and journal about it. And there is a story behind it. And I'm glad that I did that, because I've just always said, and this is partly true too. So I've always said, I'm from Florida. My skin is just not built for this cold weather, right? Which is true, because I don't own clothes that, like, we don't wear wool, we don't have hats and gloves and scarves and socks. I own like 3 pairs of socks. It's just, it's not a priority here in Florida. If it's only going to be a cold snap like 3 times a year, like, there's no need to go out and buy all those clothes, right? So anyway, back to the story. So when I just started 3rd grade, I want to say it was the first or 2nd week of school. It was pretty early. Hold on. Getting a little nervous talking about this. So was asleep in my bed, and all of a sudden there were a bunch of gunshots. And my dad, I remember him like pulling me out of my bed, like down on the ground. And so all of our bedrooms were in the back of the house, and it was pitch dark. So my parents' room, my brother's room, and then my room, and then the bathroom was across from me. So we're all like crawling through the hallway, and my dad just keeps like whisper yelling, "Stay down, stay down, stay down." And we crawled into the living room. It was a big front glass, like a big paned window that was almost to the ground. It was pretty large. And my mom had these beautiful like sheer curtains there. So you could see, because the house was dark, you could see out into the road. And you could see there was like a truck, like a big truck. And there were probably at least 3 to 5 people in the back of the truck. And they all had like big guns. And plus whoever was in the front of the truck. And so my dad had a gun, and so he's like, okay, we're gonna all go behind the door, and the kitchen was on that side too. So he's like, I'll stay behind me. And I think he thought they were gonna come through the front door, right? So he was just gonna shoot them. So we crawl across the window, and they're yelling. Because at first, I didn't know if anything was related or if it was random. But they started yelling to my dad, like calling him by his name, give us our money, things like that. So I don't remember. Obviously, it was a big chaos going on. And so they finally, and they didn't shoot out the window, because they looked like a lot of them had shotguns, but they were like shooting in the air and stuff. But a couple of the bullets did come through the window, but I'm not sure. Maybe that part was BB gun. Excuse me. I'm sorry. My nose just started running. I apologize. So there were a few bullet holes that I saw the next morning. So I went to school like normal, walked myself to school. And I know this is probably going to be one of my longer stories because it was very impactful to my life. Walked myself to school. I don't know who thought that was a great idea. If somebody was after our family, yeah, just take yourself to school. Okay. That was the world I lived in. So I do my school day. I'm really worried about what's going on. My brother was too young to be in school. I think he was only about 2.5 at the time, maybe 3. And I'm starting to walk home, and I hear somebody call my name. Well, I'm already on edge, right? Because I'm thinking, like, is somebody going to try to take me to get to my dad? Like, obviously they're after my dad. And, you've heard me allude to, if you watch my previous episodes, that I just grew up in a very dysfunctional family. So somebody's calling my name. It was a woman. And I look over, and it was my Aunt Sarah. Now, my Aunt Sarah, she lived like 3.5, 4 hours away. So out of context, right? I'm like, what's going on? Like, somebody tried to shoot, or somebody did shoot up my house last night. Like, now my aunt is here picking me up. Like, nobody ever picks me up from school. So I get in the car, and my brother's in the car. And I was like, okay, now this is weird. Where's my mom? Because now I'm worried, right, that something's happened. She's like, your mom's okay. We're just gonna take a little vacation trip down to my house. I heard there was some stuff that happened last night, and I want you guys to be safe. So love my aunt, so I was excited to see her, but also there was no mention of my dad. My mom wasn't in the car. So I don't know, probably took us about 10-15 minutes to get home. And we got home. My mom's running around in a frenzy, packing and yelling things. And, we got to be out of here. And everybody's got like 30 minutes. I'm like, 30 minutes? Like, how long are we going to be gone? And she's like, oh, just pack a few things. We won't be gone long. And so I come out and I had my little, now this was in the 70s, you guys. So I had like my old little Barbie airplane. It was pretty big. It folded in half and it unfolded, the little Barbies fit in there. I love that thing. So I had that and like my little stuffy and I think like a bathing suit or something. I don't know. I don't know if I had ever packed for myself before, And she just starts yelling at me like, we can't take that. Like, just pack some clothes. And I'm like, well, I can't take my toys. Like, how long are we even gone? So I don't know if I ever got a clear answer, but I think I was given like just like a paper bag and reached through like a bunch of emptied out my dresser into a paper bag. And I think she let me take a couple small things. I don't remember, but I got really upset I couldn't take my airplane. I think I got to take my stuffy and maybe some smaller things. I don't remember. So my aunt tried to make it really fun. And I know this is a long story to get to why I'm like allergic to the cold. But the process is important of how I got there, right? So we get there, and then when we get there, I find out we're not on vacation. We've moved, right? Because my mom says my dad's doing drugs and the drug dealers want their money. And so we're not safe there. And that he's not supposed to know where we are. So we were there. I remember I went into the 4th grade. So we were there probably almost a year and hadn't talked to my dad. And I was very, very close to my dad. So it was very hard. Just a lot of feelings, a lot of chaos. There was so many people that lived in this house. And I had to share a room for the first time. I'd never done that before. Me and my brother had always had our own room. She's trying to make a nest. Do you want to say hi? Say hi, Chloe. She's like, leave me alone. I'm cold. But my granny lived there. My uncle, his wife, his kid lived there. My aunt, my uncle, their 2 kids, me, my brother, my mom, and then my other aunt and her boyfriend. So it was 13 people in this house. Humongous house. Really nice house. Lots of fun. Had a big giant pool table in the great room. It was like really close to some farmland and a big lake that we went fishing in a lot. So that was really nice. So one day, I don't know why, I was home by myself and the phone kept ringing, and this was pre voice recorder, right? So there was the phone just rang and rang and rang. Like there was no option to leave a message. So I was like, oh, well, I guess nobody's going to answer the phone. And so I answered it, and it was my dad. And he's like, Lori Michele? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm on my way. And the phone clicked. And then I was like, oh no, like, was I not supposed to answer the phone? I don't know. Like, we're talking what, 8-year-old me? I don't know what to do. And so I remember I called my mom. She was working at like a 7-Eleven type place. And I called her and I said, hey, like, I think I made a mistake. Dad called and he said he's on his way. So however long that takes for him to get here. So I guess she called my aunt and uncle, and they all came home. Like, everybody kind of showed up at once. And was like, okay, like, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they thought, if he was going to be violent or something. I'm not sure what was going on, but all the adults were like super freaked out about it. And then I felt guilty, but I was also very excited because I hadn't seen my dad in a year. And like I said, we were very, very close. I was definitely, and up till the end of his life, I was definitely much, much closer with him than my mom. And we did talk pretty much daily, if not every other day. So anyway, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. ADHD. So he's in town for a couple days. I remember them being there. They went out to dinner and stuff, just the two of them. And I remember being so excited. Like, I was just joyous, like, at the thought of having my dad back in my life. And I didn't care what was going on. At least I didn't think that I did, like, I just wanted him, and whatever came with that would be okay. So I think he left for like a week or so, and then we were told that we were going to move back to Jacksonville because that's where he worked. So we were going to go back. And sorry, this flame is very distracting. It's really big. It's really nice. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. It's also like a timer, and I'm realizing how long this story is going to take to get back around to why I'm angry at the cold weather. I'll get better at this, you guys, I promise. So he comes back, and he has our car, because we only had one car. He comes back, and there's this other couple with him, I guess because they need the extra space to move our things back. I'm not sure. We didn't really have a lot, we didn't come with a lot. So I don't know the purpose of that, but I do remember, I was just so happy, you guys. Like, my heart was full. I remember we stopped at like a 7-Eleven, get some drinks and snacks and stuff. And, we just piled up, got back in the car. And then, so I think we switched cars. That's what it was. So we went like halfway there. It was dark outside. And I was riding with the other couple. I think it was just us and most of the stuff in the back, because I remember being in the front seat. And then my mom, dad, and brother were in the other car. But when we got to like a halfway point, we stopped at 7-Eleven, and we switched. So I got in the car with my dad, and my mom and brother got in the car with the other couple. And I was just so happy. And it's not that I was really that tired. I just kind of wanted to be like close to him. So I laid down. This was before people wore seatbelts. Okay. So I just laid down in the front seat and put my head on his lap. And we were driving along, and I guess he thought I was asleep. I had never seen my dad cry before. And all of a sudden, like on my cheek, I could feel his big warm teardrops because he was so happy too. And I thought at that point, I don't care what happens. I don't care where my mom tries to take me. I will never be without my dad again. It's not going to happen. She's not going to separate us. I don't care. So anyway, we come back to Jacksonville, and we get back to our house. Now, my mom was a really good decorator, and we didn't have a lot of money, but she was like really good at like finding antiques and paintings and wallpapers and just making everything feel very luxurious. And I will say, she bought me this ring. She has really good taste. She did pass 2 months ago now, so that's a whole nother story. And if you see my intro video to Echoes, you'll see that I mentioned some things there. We'll talk about that more. I'm not quite ready to deal with all those feelings yet. So we get back to the house, and it's been turned into like a hippie drug den, is like all I can really say. There was like beads hanging from all the doorways. A lot of her furniture was missing for some reason. I'm not sure. There was those other two people plus some other people were there. And we walked in, and my mom was like, what'd you do to my house? Like, oh my God, like this is awful. And who's all these people? And then my dad starts yelling, like, you guys were supposed to be out of here. I told you I was coming back. And there was like all this fighting going on. So my mom just said, come on, kids, we're out of here. And we walked right back out. And so we didn't have any place to stay, right? So we went to, I guess my dad knew that my granny had just moved to a new place, and no, she was staying with my Aunt Sarah. I don't know, if whatever reason her house was abandoned. Maybe she was recovering from something. So we went, no electricity, and it wasn't her house, it was a rented house, but he knew that it was empty somehow. So we went and stayed in this abandoned house. Now, it was so cold that there was like a little bit of water that was left in the bathtub. It was just like solid ice. So we have no electricity, no heat. And he's like, you guys just need to stay here for a couple of hours. I need to go like round up some money from some people who owe me some money and stuff like that. So, excuse me, we're like all huddled up on this couch. My mom's like chain smoking, and my grandmother's house was right on the corner. It was in a really bad neighborhood too. It was down by the Port of Tampa. And we could hear people like standing on the corner, like walking around in the dark, and we weren't supposed to be in there, right? So, you know, like my mom's like smoking, and like the window's right there. I kept like putting her hand down because I'm like, I didn't want somebody to see, like, you know, somebody was smoking in there, and we couldn't build like a little fire in the ashtray or something like that because, you know, I was too scared to let people see us. So his couple of hours lasted all night. He came back. He this was like the next day. It was light outside. He had brought us like a bunch of snacks and like Vienna sausages and knee highs. I remember he took the knee highs and he like busted the ice in the bathtub and put them in the bathtub. He's like, "Oh, these are gonna be nice and cold for you guys." And then I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I don't know what I said the night before about, I would do anything to be with my dad, because this is not what I had pictured, right? This wasn't my comfy house and my pretty pink bedroom and all my toys and yeah, so that was a mess. So anyway, super cold, not prepared, left alone, abandoned. Abandonment is a big fear of mine. And it wasn't until the next night he came back again, and then said he had like a place for us to stay. And actually, we just ended up moving like, oh man, I don't know, like 4 hours away or something. I don't know. So whatever was going on, we had to get out of town. I don't think it was safe for us to be in town, is what he finally figured. So we came back down to like the Ruskin area, which is south of Tampa, and lived down there for a little while. But he just couldn't make enough money as a merchant marine. So we ended up moving back and we got a house. But all that to say, I really feel like that experience of me being abandoned, in fear of my life for 3 days, and just being like not prepared, right? We didn't really have the clothes for it. And so the cold represented a lot of fearful things for me. And yeah, so that's what I've been journaling about this week. So I know that was pretty deep, but it really did help me that I realized like what was going on, because it was actually like a trigger. Like I was having a hard time. And so I knew there was something there. I'm sorry, I keep saying too. Like that's probably one of the hardest stories my dad and stuff like that. But yeah. So I guess all that to say, if you're upset about something and you don't know why you're upset, I guess the takeaway would be journal about it, and maybe, that'll come out in your subconscious. So other than that, I ordered a bunch of stuff because it's been cold here. Like we actually had flurries the other night. I should post it in well, I'll post it on Instagram. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. It actually snowed here in Tampa. That's craziness. We didn't have anything on the ground, but yeah. So I guess I'm still adapting. I ordered multiple heaters, a heated electric blanket, like a heat lamp. What else? I've been taking like extra iron. I didn't think I needed it anymore, but I guess all that's been helping. Plus, like I'm ridiculous. I got 3 pairs of clothes on. I got a tank top on. Plus this dress is like fleece lined. I'm inside. It's probably, 67 degrees in here today. But But yeah, I just wanted to invite you to journal about your own triggers and think about that question, right? So the question again was, what's an event that completely changed how you see your life? I guess I'm just not sure if it really answered the question of how I see my life, but definitely had a big impact on my life. So I would love to hear you guys' comments. If you want to type something, if you want to send me a private DM, but we're always digging and finding things that kind of surprise us. I would have to say that really surprised me. And, the reason why I said I couldn't handle the cold. So if you want to type in the comments, we are going to do a heart from the board each week. And so each one will be a special heart, and you can collect them all. You can make a board. You can put it in your journal. So I also I'm going to have a document from each of these episodes, and I'm going to kind of start compiling all the information and try to I want to write a memoir eventually, right? And where it's not so, like, I can add all the details to it. So I thought that me talking about it first, like, I'm never going to sit down. Well, I might sit down eventually, but I'd work a lot of hours. So it would be really hard for me to do that. So if I take like the script, well, not a script because I don't have a script, but the transcript of the video that I'm going to be making, and then put it in like a living document. And then I can start rearranging that and building like a timeline and making sense of everything. And I think it's going to evolve a lot for me too as we go on. But anyway, I am going to make that document available to you guys. No strings attached, no spam, I promise. I might ask you if you want to join our newsletter, but that's it. I'm not going to automatically add you to anything, but you can request that access at choosingtoshineechoes@gmail.com. And I will put that in the description as well, so you guys will have that. But I hope you will join me on this crazy journey called life and healing by supporting one another. And until next time, keep choosing to shine. Love to all.